very intentionally. We chose it because this is not just about getting any tech job or any remote job. It's about getting a flexible remote tech job, a flexible remote and capable tech career that will give you access to income, access to options, to dignity, access to making choices, access to make choices for a life that you're already responsible for. And what I'm hoping for is that by the end of today, you stop asking the question, can I get back into the workforce? Can someone like me do this? I've got so many kids, is this even possible for me? And you start asking instead strategic questions like, what path fits my life? What do I need to do next? How do I break down my goals into milestones? That is the mindset shift want us to accomplish today. Now, if you have any questions, I'm going to be taking questions after this session. Okay, so let's get into it. First thing is, let's establish why we are here. Many women are not struggling because they lack ambition. They are struggling because the traditional career model was not built for any real family responsibility. I mean, think about it. You work a 9 to 5, and for you to even get to the office at 9, you have to wake up very early. Maybe you wake up maybe 4, maybe 5, depending on how many kids you have. And then it's just not sustainable because throughout the entire day, someone has to either pick up your kids from daycare, you have to get home early so you can take care of your kids, depending on what that life looks like for you. Maybe you work shift schedules, and then it can get even trickier if you don't have access to a community that can provide support for you. So when you think about it, what you are looking for is access, because like I said, the traditional model, it doesn't work for mothers. It can work for anyone else, but for mothers, it doesn't work. So what are you looking for? First thing is you want meaningful income. You don't want to have to work 9 to 5, 5 to 9 in order for you to provide for your family. But you still want it to be flexible enough to allow you to handle the day-to-day activities that your family requires. Another thing is, you look at it that, especially for the people who maybe have been home for quite some time, and I'm going to be sharing a story with you. I think you're going to love it. Some mothers would spend some time at home, maybe to take a break because of childcare, and then they just think, I've spent too much time at home. I've been at home for 1 year, I've been at home for 2 years. This is impossible for me. I can't break into this, but you don't understand that the fact that you are at home, you are still handling a lot of processes. And those processes, those systems that you are handling, you can literally translate those into winning. You can literally translate those into winning positioning that gets recruiters' attention. So I'm going to be showing you how you can position the things that you do on a day-to-day basis and position it as one of your biggest strengths. Now, another thing is you need a practical path, okay? Not motivation, not even though you're a mom, you can do this, even though you've got 4 kids, you can do this, or someone telling you need to go pick up a bunch of certificates. That is not the solution. What you need is a practical path, a roadmap that has actually worked for a bunch of people and is guaranteed to work for you, but only if you do the work, okay? Only if you do the work. Now, the goal of what we're going to be walking through today is not to become less of a mother, okay? It's not to become less of a mother. Your goal today is to learn how you can build a career that finally fits the life that you are responsible for carrying, all right? Now, one thing I want to establish what you're going to be walking away with today. The first thing is you're going to be walking away with a remote, capable tech path that fits your background and your time. So something realistic. Okay, not every role is equally flexible. Not every course is the right investment, and not every trend deserves your attention. So what works for Jumoke might not work for Shayla. What works for Shayla might not work for Jane. So it's important to understand what your strengths are, what type of environment you want, and what your goals are, and then align that to what you're looking for. Now, you're also going to understand how you can translate your core experience into job ready tech language. A lot of women constantly underestimate what they already know, and that's because they're comparing themselves to people who have been in tech for years. But one thing is, employers, they do not only hire tools or hire people who have been in tech for a long time, they hire problem solvers. They hire people who can communicate, people who can organize, people who can analyze, document, and deliver. And I would argue that that's what mothers spend their time doing every day. Another thing is, we're going to be talking about proof, because in this market, saying I'm willing to learn is not enough. You need visible evidence, you need projects, you need portfolio pieces, you need a stronger resume that can compete in the market, you need a better LinkedIn profile, you need an interview story that capture attention and make sense to people. This market does not thrive on sentiment. If I could box what the market thrives on into one word, it thrives on proof, evidence. And we always say something at 10 Analytics. We say competence over credentials. And that's exactly what you're looking for. I'm going to be showing you how you can avoid common mistakes that people make. And finally, I'm going to help you. I'm going to show you, all of the things that we can offer you and how we can take you from where you're at right now to becoming career ready and launching your career in tech. And by the end of this, you can decide whether or not 10 Analytics is the right bridge for your next step, because I don't want you to buy into this blindly. I want the right people who are ready to stop guessing and to start moving immediately. Now, for the people who wait until the end of this session, I do have a special offer. So wait until the end of the session. We're going to be wrapping up very fast. All right. Now, quick one before we go on, we do have to understand what analytics is. Okay. I'm sure you must have watched some videos before you joined. You must have seen, maybe you must have watched some testimonials. But what is 10 Analytics, or what do we do at 10 Analytics? In a nutshell, 10 Analytics is a career activation network. And I say it's a career activation network because it's very easy for you to confuse and compare what we do with, say, for example, Coursera, or compare it with Udemy. And yes, do we teach skills? Absolutely. You can come in here, you can learn a new skill, but it's different. One major differentiator is the employability aspect. That's what we call the USP. So it's not just about you coming in to learn a new skill. It's about you becoming employable. And in 5 years, over 5 years now, going on 6 years next year, next month, we have helped over 4,000 people. And these are people who had no prior experience in tech. We've helped them land jobs in the industry. Now, this doesn't mean that we've only trained 4,000 or over 4,000 people. We've had thousands of people walking through our doors. But one thing that we look out for and what we define as our USP are the people who come back to say, I got a job. And for every one person who comes back to say, I got a job, there's another 10 people who never come back to give us that testimonial. But it's fine, because the major thing that we look out for here is building competence and confidence in people that enables them go out to win. That is the major goal here. So if you're here because maybe you want to learn a new skill, then I wouldn't say that this is the wrong place for you, but you would not get the value that you're looking for here. But if you're here because you want to transition, you want to get into the industry, you want to get into the tech ecosystem, then you are in the right place. Okay, now we help people transition into a range of roles across data analytics, health tech, business analysis, data engineering, data science, and a lot of other roles. I'm going to be showing you most of these roles when we go ahead further into the presentation today. So Who is Lola and why should you listen to me? I think it's important for us to establish this because you're going to be listening to me talk for the next 1 hour. And it's important for you to say, hey, who is Lola? And why exactly should I spend the next 1 hour of my time listening to anything that she has to say? Well, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Tenalytics, and my background cuts across multiple industries, across multiple sectors, and that includes fintech, e-commerce, GovTech, SaaS, customer experience, and I've done this in different continents as well. The most important thing here for you is I've done it on both ends. So I have been the person interviewing for a role, and I've also been the person interviewing people for a role. So I have run recruitment, and I have been part of recruitment processes as a candidate. So that gives me a different kind of perspective, especially because I've done this in different markets, and I've also been in the tech ecosystem for over 10 years. So when I tell you that one thing that really separates candidates, you've got 5 fantastic candidates, and you cannot make a decision. If I've got 5 fantastic candidates in front of me, I can't make a decision. The one person that I would always go for is the problem solver. So things like the assessments, the interview questions, everything would be designed to find the person who would not wait for the problem to solve itself or escalate the problem to their manager, but the person who would instinctively go and solve that problem. And that's exactly what I'm going to be sharing with you today, how you can position yourself to be that candidate, because then you become irresistible to the market. Now, let's talk about the reality of the market, okay? Because I don't want to sell you a fantasy. First thing I want you to understand is that flexible and remote work, it exists. We all know someone who is most likely working remotely. We all know someone who is most likely working hybrid. We know that global opportunities exist. But the only thing is that the market has changed, and this is never going to end. The market is going to continuously change, especially now that we have impressive, fantastic tools capable of automating processes and systems. That now leaves a lot of people asking questions like, where do I fit in? Is this even the right time for me to break into tech? So when people say things like, I want to get into tech, they just think, some of them will think I want a remote job. But there's a whole strategy behind that, understanding how the market makes its selection, understanding what makes you a stellar candidate. You can look at the job market or the recruitment process. You can look at it as a pyramid, and every candidate starts out at the bottom. So let's say all of the skilled candidates, they're all here. So everybody who has gotten a certificate from Harvard, from Coursera, from Stanford, and from wherever, they're all starting at the bottom here. Now, what starts to make a difference and take people to the next level is employability skills. So when people just think, I'm just going to keep on throwing my application into thin air, but there's no solid strategy behind that. It's basically preparing to fail. So let's talk about the constraints behind being a busy mom and trying to break into an industry as busy as tech. Now, first thing is that limited study time this is a real problem. Limited study time is real. We've got things like the childcare windows. We've got things like women who have to take career gaps or pause, maybe because you wanted to have a child or something, low confidence after a time. And when you don't do something regularly, maybe you used to do it, you were doing it for a couple of months, for a couple of years, you became an absolute beast at it. And then all of a sudden you had to go have your baby. And then a lot of things changed. You're coming back now, you're finding it really hard to get your groove. I have a colleague, and she went for maternity leave, an absolute beast. It was fantastic working with her. We were sort of like Bonnie and Clyde, because the way we would flow on calls, we would get on calls and we would get what we wanted because we would play good cop, bad cop. She was fantastic. But then, at the time when we first started working together, she was pregnant. And I really admired how much she was able to put into her work. Even while she was pregnant, I would say she was an ops beast. And then, she had her baby. Funny enough, she was working at the same week she had a baby, she was still working. But then when she had her baby, everything just, we didn't hear from her for a couple of months. She went for her maternity leave, and rightfully, as she should, she blocked all of us. She wasn't responding. We're basically ghosted. But when she came back, there was a noticeable difference. It wasn't easy for her to, pick up herself and move and get back into her groove like she used to. She would say things like, I'm so sorry, mom brain, my brain is getting foggy. Give me a minute. I need to catch myself. And, over time, she started building herself to become that person again. But it was something that took a while. So we have to admit that, the transition is harder when you're a mom. Now, what makes that transition worth it is most especially when you're moving into tech. You have access to a flexible schedule, you have access to a predictable income, you have access to either work remotely or you want to work hybrid. And then there's also growth without burnout, because when you can design what this looks like for you, then you can decide how you want to grow and the path that ensures that you're still able to deliver your responsibilities as a mother and also as an employee. One of the best parts of this is that you are also building skills that compound. I always tell people there's literally no skill that you learn in tech in today's world that is wasted. It can always translate into something else, anything else. People management, stakeholder management, data analysis, drawing insights. There is no skill that you learn that is wasted. And of course, community and accountability. So when you get into spaces like this, just like we've got Clara on the call, we've got Ree on the call, we've got Titi Lope on the call. I'm sure that you all have your own unique stories. And, for some of you are looking into how can I break into tech? Maybe I'm a new mom, I've been home for a while with the kids, but you start to see that there are threads that connect you, even though your names, where you grew up, your background is different, and in many cases, you're able to find and build community in these spaces. That makes the transition absolutely worth it. Now, I want us to get very clear on something, and it's a very important mindset shift. What you are looking for is not a laptop job, okay? What you are looking for is not a laptop job. You are looking for work where your input matters more than where you sit. So a lot of people would say remote job, but they don't understand that what makes a role remote capable is having access to certain things. For example, some jobs became remote during COVID, but they were not necessarily designed for remote work. It was out of necessity. Other roles are naturally easier to do remotely because the work involves analysis, it involves documentation, dashboard designs, requirements, things that you can do from a distance. You can be in Maldives and you're working in the UK and nobody knows, because your value is not limited or confined to that space. You're able to ship it out. And that's exactly what you need to be looking for. So what you're looking for is not a laptop job. You are looking for a job that combines, number one, remote first, which gives you flexibility. So if you don't want to work remotely, that's fine. So people will say things like, I don't want to sit 24/7 with the kids. Understandable. Then you're looking for a hybrid setting, something that allows you to choose between remote and flexible. I want to work hybrid. I want to work 2, 3, 4 days in the office. I want to work 1 day in the office. This kind of roles I'm going to be walking you through allow you make this decision. Now, another thing that you're also looking for as well is work where you can plan, you can document, and you can deliver without constant meetings. The constant meetings can be incredibly draining, but I would have to be very clear though that it does depend on the organization, and it also depends on how clearly you communicate what your expectations are in some cases. Now, last but not least, you're also looking for an outcome that you want to ensure that all of these, flexibility, strategy, you're not locked into one role. You're able to choose and make decisions for yourself. Your income is not boxed into any category. You can literally reach as high as you want to. That is exactly what you are looking at. Now, I don't know if you have a role, a title in mind. I'm going to be walking you through some of these options. But like I said, you are not looking for a laptop job. You are looking for a job that is naturally remote. So you can work and deliver your best value from anywhere in the world. Now, before I go further, I want to quickly share a quick story with you. This is Ikmat, and I want to show you what everything I've been saying can look like in real life. Now, Ikmat was a full-time stay-at-home mom, and she had a 2-year employment gap. And this is very important. I need to, I think I need to stress this, because when many women hear the word gap, they immediately feel disqualified. They think, oh, I've been out of the game for too long. Who's going to take me seriously? I've gotten rusty. But Ikmat did not need to erase her story. She did something. She joined the 10 Analytics data analytics program because she wanted to reposition her story. Ikmat moved to the UK for her master's degree in public health, and she joined our program. When she joined it, what Ikmat did was that she built the right skills. She positioned herself for the right positions, and because Ikmat was able to do this, she was able to position her background and then sell everything, all of her skills, translate the things that she had been doing during her 2 years gap and wrap it up as an advantage. Ikmat was able to get a job in January 2024. She landed a job as an information analyst with the NHS. And Ikmat's offer also came with a full visa sponsorship. Now, the question that we have to be asking ourselves is, how did Ikmat do it? How did Ikmat do it? How? How did Ikmat go from a 2 years gap to landing a job with the NHS? And it wasn't just your average job. She got a job that a lot of people are looking for with full visa sponsorship. So if you are a mom, you're listening to this today and you're thinking, I've been at home for a while, I've paused my career, I'm behind. I want you to hear this very clearly. If you have a gap, what you need is strategy, not shame, not what do I cover this up with. You need a very clear strategy. That is the only way you can win in this market. Okay, now, is there anyone who would like to have the same kind of story as Ikmat does? Or maybe someone who has the same background as Ikmat, maybe you've got a gap in your resume, or maybe you're looking to transition. I want you to type yes in the chat section. Who knows? We could be sharing your story and how you transition successfully in the next couple of months. I want you to type a yes in the chat. If Ikmat's story resonated with you, if maybe you can relate with her background, with the results that Ikmat got, and that's something that you're looking to get for yourself, I want you to type a yes in the chat. Is anyone going to type a yes in the chat? Anyone? I need just one person to type a yes. Okay, fantastic. Chinyere said yes. All right, so now I know that the crowd is with me. I'm going to be asking some more questions just to be sure that everyone is engaging, but 100% Chinyere, this can be you. Okay, now remember to fill out. Okay, Ree said yes. Fantastic, Ree. Absolutely can be you. Remember to fill out the attendance form so you can gain access to this recording, because there's a video of Ikmat talking about her experience with 10 Analytics, but I want us to move ahead. So when you fill out the form, you can gain access to this slide and you can watch that video in your own time. Okay, now let's talk about the market and how the market has moved, because I keep on saying this, the market has moved, and that means your strategy also has to evolve. Now, before, people would say things like, I need any remote job, I just need to work remotely. Okay, but this often leads to generic CVs, it leads to random applications, it leads to course hoppings and disappointments because you're not targeting something. It's kind of like you're doing everything to see which one works. But the better approach is that you need to be very sure what value you can offer. And that's something I want you to start thinking. Start asking yourself, what value can I offer? Because the better approach is I need a remote, capable role where my evidence matches the employer's problem. So I'm talking about a pathway that is targeted. It's a completely different level of thinking. You're not just chasing a title, you are asking, what problem does this role solve? What proof can I show for this? What background advantage do I have? What projects can demonstrate readiness? And how much does this even pay? Because if we're not getting the money, then it's a waste of time. The money is very important. Remember, you've got eggs to take care of. Now, for a busy mother, this is not just career advice. You are literally protecting your time. You don't have unlimited hours to spend applying for roles that do not fit your profile. You need to ensure that your strategy is focused and it can give you exactly what you are looking for. That is why it's important that before you get into this, you sit down with yourself and you say, hey, Titi Lope, what kind of jobs can are we what kind of value can we bring in a job? Oh, I know how to manage stakeholders. I know how to manage finances, expenses, budgets. I'm fantastic with that. So you're already mapping out what you're good at. And then you look at those, we call those transferable skills, and you're looking at where does this apply to where is this and a solid advantage, okay? And that's why I also want to talk about your past experience. I'm going to term it as your life experience because it's literally happening. Now, the job markets may not call it tech experience. Maybe when you're doing school runs, you're taking care of the kids, maybe maybe you're even maybe you're an auntie and you take care of other people's kids. Regardless, you have a routine that the tech market does not necessarily recognize. But I'm going to help you translate what that looks like. Now, the first thing is maybe you run a household, okay? Maybe you run a household, and the job markets may not call it operations management. But I want you to think about what you actually do. First thing is you manage priorities. You have to allocate resources. You have to plan schedules. You have to handle risk. You have to solve problems under pressure. You coordinate people who do not always cooperate, and that is real life systems thinking. It's really funny to me when people say things like, maybe women can't be leaders because what do you what do you mean when you've got like three or two toddlers, you're running after them, and then you have like so many other things that you're handling, and you're still able to handle that and ensure that nobody accidentally kills themselves? That is amazing value. That is literally running a household. It's ops thinking, because what we do in ops is that we ensure that everybody has what they need to keep on running. So it's constant workflow optimization. Now drop that toothbrush, you can't use it. Okay, we need to change things in the house. We have to get new socks for you. We have to change your uniform. We have to get you a new bag. We need to ensure we have enough butter for tomorrow. That is operations. That is literally a skill a lot of people do not have, because you're running multiple things at the same time. Now, another one is managing children and schedules. Okay, that fits into project coordination, stakeholder management, risk planning. Now, people would not typically identify this again as a tech role, but this is literally stakeholder management, where you're managing children, you're managing schedules. Your kids are sort of like annoying stakeholders when you think about it, because you have to negotiate with them for things. Hey, you can't eat chocolate today. You had chocolate last night and you can't go to bed by 8 p.m. I let you stay up last night up until late. So there are things that you have to do, and you have to ensure that when you're doing it, you're not destroying the relationship, you're managing it successfully. So you're very conscious about the things you say, about the way you talk to them. You're very conscious about the way you manage your kids, about the way you manage their schedules. So this person has to go to the doctors today. This person has to go to this one has a program in school. You have a theater kid in school. We have to get him a costume to wear. It's managing so many things at the same time. That is a superpower in projects management, because multiple things are happening at the same time. Now, another is service, healthcare, or admin. Okay, so maybe you're coming from the customer service space, maybe you're coming from the healthcare space, maybe you're coming from the admin space. And before I go, I just want to talk about something I found really interesting. Now, I've been recruiting in tech for a lot of years, and I noticed a phenomenon. People will talk about this thing a lot, but I didn't notice it until one day. It was so glaring, I couldn't deny it. We had a role we had different roles that were open, multiple roles. And one of them, obviously, there was no gender specification. It wasn't about, male or female or whatever. It was just about who was most competent. And we put out the job ad. You could clearly tell that one of them was supply chain. It involved a lot of supply chain. When you strip everything else, it really is just operations, it's core operations. And there was a job description there, and there was how much it paid. And then we now had another one as well. It was for a receptionist. So these two roles were active amongst others, but it was a really interesting thing that I noticed that day. When we began to look at the data for applications, we noticed that we were getting more applications from women for, guess what? The receptionist role that was paying like 10% of what the supply chain role was paying. And it blows my mind when I see a lot of women especially, do this thing. You're qualified, you're overqualified, and you somehow manage to talk yourself out of it. A lot of women were going for it. I would even say although we didn't do like a gender analysis, I would say off the top of my head, it must have been like 95 to 5%. That's 95% of women went for the receptionist role, and 5% of men did. Now, interesting, let's move to the other one, supply chain. The supply chain role was particularly interesting because we barely saw any woman apply for it. It was just one application from a woman, only one. The others were men. And it wasn't, like 100, I'm talking like hundreds of application from men. And what does that tell you? It tells you that women think too much. Women think too much and talk themselves out of opportunities. So think about this. Maybe you've been doing customer care, you've been in healthcare, you've been in admin, you have built fantastic skills that translate into tech career paths. And before I move on from this, I just want you to keep this in mind as we go on. I want you to stop underestimating yourself. I want you to stop underestimating the value that you are capable of bringing, the value that you bring currently. So if you've ever done customer care, healthcare, or admin, you have done business analysis, you have done process improvement, you have done documentation. Process improvement in terms of you are looking at processes and you're saying, hey, how do we improve this? Maybe as an admin, maybe in customer support, business analysis, you have to thoroughly understand the business. Before you can say, hey, you know what, how about we do it a different way? And you typically find that you would see people in admin or in healthcare solving roles in small ways. You're not changing the entire world. I mean, you're not solving climate, you're not solving climate change or anything, but climate crisis, but you are solving a small problem. And that problem solving skill is what you can now take and apply to tech roles that positions you above other candidates. Now, another is finance, sales, teaching, or even working in pharmacy. That is a combination of analytics, reporting, problem solving, and domain knowledge. So while I'm going through this list, I want you to start thinking, what box do I fit in? So you're looking at what your core advantage is. Now, if you're returning after a gap, your story, and we're going to be getting to this part, but when you're in the job market, recruiters love to hear stories of a strong comeback. So what your sell here is resilience, it's adaptability, it's maturity, and it is focus. The question is, how do you package this and sell it to the market? So let's talk about how you can choose the right path. We've spoken about the reality. Let's talk about how you can position yourself for the right path. Now, the right path is not always the it's not always the trendiest role. It's not always the role with the loudest influencers. Might probably not be talking about it, but the core advantage is that it is the right path for you. Okay, this is where a lot of people waste time. They will say they will jump into data analytics, into cybersecurity. If you were here at the start of this meeting, my colleague was playing a video of a lady, and she was talking about how she got a job and all of that. She said at the start she was confused. She came in and she said, "Oh, do I go for business analysis? Do I go for project management?" She just wanted to be everywhere, and this confusion, we see it every day. But it is so critical for you to lock down a path. You have to lock down a goal, because if you don't do that, then you're going to be chasing everything shiny that comes your way. And just because it's shiny or just because it's trending does not mean that there are real opportunities there. Now, I want to show you where strategy meets market reality. At this point, the idea is, how do I ensure that I pick a job, a career path that will get me the results that I need? Flexibility, high income. Now, we've already solved this problem for you. What we've done is that every year we do a 3-step analysis. Now, this 3-step analysis, one of the first steps for that is job board analysis. Now, the reason why we do this is because we don't pick career paths because they sound fancy or they sound fantastic. We are matching these against specific metrics to ensure that we get the right result. And what is that result? It is you landing a job. And the only way you can land a job is if, number one, you are getting a skill that is in high demand. So it means that the market has to align to that. Everybody has to be hiring for that role. And then if everyone is hiring for it, or if you have a lot of openings for that role, then it's now a question of how much does it pay. If there are a lot of roles that are open for it, especially if it's a new skill, then usually the salary there would be high, and that equals flexibility. That means that you get to choose. That equals negotiation, especially when you're good at your job and you understand how to position yourself. So the first step is a job board analysis. We look at job boards like LinkedIn, like Indeed, like Total Jobs, like Monster, Built-in, all of these public job boards, and even the private job boards, the ones that we use with our partners, and we analyze the job titles that are getting recruited for over and over again. We analyze the industries, the sectors, the companies that are hiring for these roles, and then we validate that against the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report. Now, this is very important because what the World Economic Future of Jobs report does is that it looks at the industry from a bird's eye view. What are the roles right now that are moving the markets? So when you look at the World Economic Future of Jobs report, it spoke about AI and machine learning, and that's because it's based off real data. We can clearly tell that everybody and their grandmother and their cats now own an AI company. Right? That's because it's literally a trend. If you look at the reports here, you could see that there was going to be an explosion in AI. The explosion in AI now equals a lot of roles getting automated and, funny enough, more jobs being created. I'm talking over 92 million jobs being created. So we ran the validation against the World Economic Future of Jobs report, and you can take your time and look at this, once you gain access to the slides. So don't fill out the form that my colleagues are dropping in the chat section. And then Finally, we run this against a regional analysis, because if it's not the kind of jobs that you can get in the UK, in Canada, in the US, then it's not going to be high paying. So we check it out against all of these regions, just to be ensure that it matches all of the categories we're looking at: global labor market signals, regional hiring patterns, sponsor eligible occupations, where relevant, remote, capable job families reside in, and the kind of roles that employers are constantly advertising. So under all of these three levels, when we did the analysis for this year, it gave us a couple of options, and that's what you can see on my screen here. So we've got options like business analysis, like product design, financial analysts, data analysts, cybersecurity, GRC to be specific, agile products management and scrum master, healthcare, broken down into the business analyst track, the data analyst track, and the project management track. Why is this relevant to you? You don't want to choose your path based off sentiment. Everybody's talking about it, so I guess it must pay very well. You want to choose your fit based off your background, your capacity, your market, your timeline, and the evidence that you can build. Another fantastic thing about all of these tracks is that if you notice, there's nothing technical here. This is not technical. These are roles that you can do, that you can quickly get into and become fantastic at in a couple of months. And they are also roles that pay incredibly high and can give you access to all of these benefits I've just walked you through. So lock this down. If you want to take a screenshot of this, fantastic, do that. But you're asking yourself, which one do I fit in? And don't worry, I'm going to be talking briefly about each of these tracks. So let's start with data analytics and business intelligence. Data analytics and business intelligence. And this fit is best for mothers who you like clarity, you like numbers, you like decisions, you like reporting, you like making sense of chaos. And I want you to notice something. So I did not say that you must be a mathematician. I never said that. I did not say you must be a genius coder. I said you must be able to work with information and turn that into insights, which is basically clarity, reporting, decisions, insights, numbers. So you don't have to be a mathematician and then break down and find the X or the Y or any of these. You just have to understand how to use these tools to translate a data set and help teams understand things like their performance, their customer behavior, operations, revenue, or service delivery. And this role is particularly important because companies today are processing a lot of data. So one thing that you're also looking at when you're looking at the kind of path that would be a fit for you is you're prioritizing job security. Remember, we don't have time to waste. So job security is very important. If it's a kind of role that would be out of the market in the next couple of years, you're wasting your time. But for a job like this, it's literally called business intelligence because that is what it does. Businesses are processing a lot of data. By virtue of us being on this call today, we are generating data. Every time you send a message on WhatsApp, you are generating data. Every time you sit with your family and you watch Netflix, you are generating data. Every time you swipe on Instagram, you swipe on TikTok, you are generating data. Now, you may not know this, but there are teams that are dedicated to analyzing your activities and then saying, this is what we can get out of what this person is doing or what this group of people are doing. For example, one of the reasons why you are here is because we specifically targeted moms. We targeted women who maybe had a gap in their year, or maybe maybe they've just recently relocated. It was specific, it was targeted. and that brought you here. And that's why data is so important. And every time you are on the internet, you're relating with all of these tools, you are literally generating data. And there are people whose entire job it is to sit down, to study that data, and to say, what is Clara probably going to be buying on Amazon? I see that Clara bought a lot of, red lipstick. So I can see that Clara loves to collect lipsticks, and then their teams are now ensure that Clara sees a lot of red in different shades because they know that Clara will buy. And that is the benefit of business intelligence. Now, this track can be flexible because a lot of this is dashboarding. It's reporting, it's analysis, it's very, very flexible. Okay, so someone was asking me one time, if I go for the data analyst track, do I have to talk a lot? She said, do I have to talk a lot? Because I don't like to talk. I don't like to talk too much, but you would not typically find, in roles like this where you're having like multiple meetings. The most important thing is the data. And you would find that, a lot of data and business intelligence teams dedicate their time to analyzing data sets. That's what they do with most of their time. And if any information or communication has to happen, it happens with their team, and they don't have to spend their times in meetings like some other career paths mostly would. Now, this fits people who have background in, maybe admin, healthcare, finance, sales, teaching, operations, customer service, science or business backgrounds. You would do fantastic in this role because it involves analyzing data. It involves providing insights to the business. This literally shapes the direction of the business. Okay, now that's for data analytics and business intelligence. Let's talk about another career track. Now, the other career track I'm going to be walking you through is business analysis. This is fantastic for mothers who like to ask questions, who love to organize information. It's for, let's call them our introvert mama. You love to improve how things work. When there's a party, you're probably the first person who's at the party. You're maybe the person who is going around and checking, hey, darling, have you eaten? Would you like to get some sweets? You just love to talk to people and to make sure everybody's fine. You would be fantastic as a business analyst. Now, in this track, you're going to be spending a lot of time translating the business needs. You're going to be spending a lot of time translating business needs. So what this means is that you're going to be looking at requirements, you're going to be looking at your processes, you're going to be clarifying problems, you're going to be talking to technical teams and translating what the business needs into action. That is exactly what you're going to be doing as a business analyst. So you're talking to stakeholders, you're saying, hey, customers said that they would prefer if the packaging was smaller and the content was more, because right now we just have like a large packaging, and because of that we're losing market share. And then you say, how do we make this possible? How do we ensure that we're doing this in a way where the business is still profitable? So in this role, you cannot be, there are some introverts who actually do very well in business analysis. But I would say that this role is fantastic for extroverts, because if you like to deal with people, if you like to talk, clarify needs, you like to manage expectations, you like to negotiate, you're going to do fantastic in this. Now, if you've ever worked in healthcare, maybe you've worked in operations, maybe you've worked in, it really depends on what career, maybe finance, construction, whatever. Even though you've just been a mom, you can still leverage your life experience and fully transition into business analysis. You're going to spend a lot of time mapping processes. You're going to spend time building user stories. And this is where interviews, speaking to people, a lot of people who most likely use your product because you want to improve it. This is where it comes in. And it's one of the reasons why it's your extrovert heaven. Now, another one is product design. Product design is best for mothers who are creatives. Maybe you used to be a tailor. Maybe you used to be a painter. Maybe you just have a creative flair. You're the kind of person who is very judgy. You say, nah, those colors don't go well together. Nah, honestly, I think you would be better off with a different lipstick shade. But if you really like aesthetics, then product design is fantastic for you. I always say that if I wasn't in ops, then I'd probably be in product design because I really love aesthetics. So if you are a creative, this is fantastic because you're going to be learning, you're going to be building websites, apps, and tools. And by the way, the UK just released it now has like a really fantastic opportunity under product design. Very real quick, someone was asking me a question recently talking about, yeah, but nowadays we have Claude. I don't know if anybody knows Claude. Do you know Claude? If you know Claude, you can send a thumbs up. Who knows Claude on the call? Does anyone know Claude? Claude's the large language model. If you know Claude, please send a thumbs up to the chat, or you can type a yes. Okay, Bukola knows Claude. Does anybody else know Claude? Anyone else? Okay, Clara knows Claude. Fantastic. Now, Claude it has really interesting, amazing capabilities. And one of them is that it makes designers feel inferior to a very large extent. People are using Claude now to design websites. They're using Claude to design graphics for social media. It's amazing. However, Claude does have its limitations, and that's what a lot of people are starting to realize. It's why I always say this thing: there are roles that AI can replace and roles that AI cannot replace. When you see a website that has been designed by Claude, you will know. You will know from the way it looks. You will know from the way the colors are placed. You will just know from the flow. A simplified flow. It looks like it's a bunch of templates that were just put together. Like when someone just like puts something hurriedly together and they didn't even take the time to make it creative. So Claude has a look and feel, and a lot of people would now eventually have to go back to designers to say, hey, I would like you to help me fix the way this looks. So product design is a career path that is still blowing up in terms of value. It's blowing up in terms of opportunities. So for someone who loves, maybe used to be a tailor, used to be a graphic designer, whatever, if you just love aesthetics, you are going to thrive in this role. One interesting thing is there are so many things that you can do here with a portfolio. You can, for example, redesign what Uber looks like, and you can have that in your portfolio. You can say, as a mom who has, a bunch of kids and who also takes Uber as well, this is what would improve my experience. This is what would improve my experience as a working parent. This is what would improve my experience on an e-commerce when I'm checking out. This role literally gives you flexibility. You're not locked into an industry. You can apply anywhere. You can apply in e-commerce. You can apply in fintech. You can apply in different industries. The major thing is that you understand how to solve problem and how to position your creativity to become a career capital. Now, we also have projects management as well. I've spoken a bit about projects management before, but this is for women who naturally coordinate moving pieces. So you know how to manage your household calendar. You're the only one who knows, when your husband gets to the when he gets to the hospital, he's calling you. He's like, yeah, when was she born? When was he born? Yeah, what was the last thing that he ate on Tuesday at 12 p.m.? And you know everything. You somehow have fantastic memory for that. These are project managers, by the way. The project management skills, they literally translate into that. You know when everybody has to go to the hospital. You know when everybody has to go in for their dentist appointment. So for someone like this, you already understand prioritization. You understand how to plan. You understand risk management, because somehow you seem to be the only person who is always saying, nah, this could kill you. Get down from there. You understand communication. You understand how to follow up, how to remove blockers. Basically, you are a powerhouse when it comes to solving problems because you hear the word mom like 50 times a day. And when that word comes up, you have to solve a problem. This is a role that I think it's one of the best fits actually, especially for women who've had like a career gap. So because you've been moving around, running a bunch of things and handling so many moving pieces, Agile is a fantastic track for you. Now, if you come from a background of healthcare, finance, admin, compliance, your industry background is your advantage. Your industry background is your advantage. Okay. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that career switchers make is they think that they have to erase their old identity in order for them to become attractive in tech. But in many cases, your old background is the one thing that makes your experience relevant. The only thing is how you position it. If you come from healthcare, health tech can make sense because you already understand things like patient flow. You understand things like documentation, appointment systems. You understand the unique people that you have to deal with in the healthcare space. If you come from finance, you understand things like reporting, you understand things like cost analysis, you understand things like budgeting, like forecasting. If you come from a background of admin, a cybersecurity GRC specifically would make sense to you because admin is pretty much organizing things and documentation. And that is exactly what cybersecurity GRC is. Most people hear cybersecurity and they automatically think that it's every track under cybersecurity is technical, but GRC is not technical. You do not have to code in order for you to get into this track. This path is simply about compliance. It's about policy making. It's about risk, understanding risk. It's about running audits. So GRC would make sense if you've dealt in documentation, if you've dealt in processes, if you understand discipline. So you don't have to be technical in order for you to get into this career path. Now, I want to share a quick story with you. This is one of my favorite stories to talk about. Her name is Judith. And Judith moved from being a carer in the UK and she became a business analyst. I find Judith's story particularly powerful and empowering because when Judith found Analytics, she had already given up. If you watch Judith's full video, she was at a point where she was like, you know what? I don't really think that, this is probably going to work out for me. So I'm just going to see what I can do in my own way. So she didn't think that she would find something like Analytics. It was when she was dropping off her kid at school that she met up with someone accidentally. You know what? As a matter of fact, I want you to hear it from Judith's mouth. So Judith, she was in the UK and she had a background in HR before she moved into the UK. And, she came into Analytics, she completed business analysis, and this was in March 2024. And 3 months after, just 3 months after, Judith landed a job in July 2024 as a business analyst. So she was in the UK and she got a job in the US as a business analyst. So she was working fully remotely. This is what happens when you tell yourself, you know what? Let's get into this. Let's do in a minute. I want you to hear it from the horse's mouth. In this case, it's just going to be for a couple of minutes. Remember, we've got so many interesting testimonials here, and for you to gain access to this, don't forget to fill out the attendance that my colleagues are dropping in the chat section. Okay. Let me see if I can get Judith's video real quick. Okay, found it. All right. So this is Judith. I'm going to play her video. All right.
Higher role. Yeah, I'm about to take a higher role because within few months, my boss was like, "Oh, I see you are very good." I said, "Yes." I got my training with Analytics, and they're very good. Even my classmates that we went to school together in the UK, most of them are asking me. I've referred about 25 of them to Analytics.
Stop that. I have here a popular face on the channel, Mr. Deza Suleiman, and I also have here Judith, aka Ngozi, aka I can help people get good jobs abroad. So, Madam Judith, today I just want you to share something brief about yourself. I know that you don't have time, and also share an honest advice for migrants who are looking for well-paying jobs abroad. Okay, your honest, genuine advice. Okay, pass fast.
Okay. All right, so thank you everyone for having me. I remember I was also a carer when I met Tolu. Yeah, I met her when she went to drop her child in school, same school with my daughter. And then she was telling me, "Oh, why not going to tech?" I was like, "What do you mean going to tech? Is that what you do?" And then she said yes, that she got a job after she had a training with Analytics. I was like, wow. Then give me the link because I've been trying to get one, and then the one I got was in London. I was so expensive. I even bless God I haven't paid. So when she shared Analytics with me, I went to check on Instagram and I saw it. And then I joined. The fee was very okay because compared to what I was going to pay for, that one was so high. And then they were not my people. Of course, I might not even hear them speak. So I joined Analytics and then I took the training, and of which before I joined Analytics, I've tried to, because I studied computer science, I've tried getting jobs. I couldn't get, I was just doing healthcare jobs, which I wasn't even okay with. So, but then after I finished my training, I just remember that there was just, the only thing I did that I wasn't doing before was that the template Analytics gave for CV after the training, I just changed my CV to that. I changed the format and then I submitted it back to this same company that hired me in the US that I've been trying to get into for a long time. And then I got the job. It was just so surprising. I got the job.
Wow. So you're currently.
So like I said, fill out the attendance that my colleagues are dropping in the chat section so you can gain access to this and you can watch Judith's story. It's also on our YouTube as well, so you can just search for Judith's name and her video is going to pop up. But one thing that I did want you to see though is for you to hear it from Judith, hear her tell her story herself and how it became possible for her when she gave it everything that she had. She stepped into it, she did the work. Even though it didn't seem like it was easy, Judith did the work. She showed up every day. She applies the frameworks, the systems that we taught her. And 3 months later, Judith was happily working remotely. She did not have to change a significant part of her life, pick up her things and move into an entirely new space. She got the job exactly where she was. And that is something, that level of flexibility is what a lot of you on the call are looking to accomplish. And that's why it's time for us to start talking about strategy, because we've gone over and over again on how this is possible, but how do you make it possible for you? A busy mother cannot afford to learn randomly. You cannot afford to spend months, watching scattered YouTube videos on Coursera. Now you're watching this one, you're learning business analysis. Now you're moving to data analytics. You're changing direction every couple of weeks, and then you're applying and you're wondering why nothing is coming together. What you need is a path, a learning structure. You accountability, and as we know, as women, you need community. And I'm going to be showing you how all of these strategies can position you for exactly what you want. Now, the best way to learn if you want to land a job is for you to learn by doing the real work. So step 1 is how you learn when you are building your skills. Now, we do this by ensuring that you are learning in what we call a project-based environment. Project-based environment means that as you are learning, you are doing. So you're not waiting to learn before you do. You are learning and you are doing while you are learning. So you are building the skills, the projects that eventually go into your portfolio. So throughout the months that you come, you're learning with Tenalytics, you are building real projects. And those real projects are part of what you put in your portfolio. So when the recruiters would ask you, when you're applying for jobs and you need to use your portfolio, this is what you're going to be using. So throughout your time with us, you are going to be building your proof. That's the first thing. So we have merged these two very important processes together. Step one, learn the skill. Step two, or I would call this more like step three, builds the portfolio. They are both merged together. Now, I'm going to show you an example of what a portfolio looks like. I just an example portfolio. This is Victoria. Let's use Victoria as the example here. If Victoria wants to get a job with the NHS as a healthcare data analyst, the first thing that Victoria has to do is to ensure that she learns in a project-based environment and that she also builds the projects that are relevant to what she's trying to learn, which is why I have stressed over and over again on knowing what path you want to take. So I'm hoping that some of us have already said to identify what path resonates the most with us. So for someone like Victoria, for example, Victoria would have to say, I want to go for health tech data analysis. And because Victoria knows what she wants, Victoria is now building her portfolio, her projects are being developed in that line. And if you don't know how to develop a portfolio, don't worry about it. When you come on board, one thing that we always say in Tenalytics is you will never walk alone again, because that access information is what you need, and you get it when you're with Tenalytics. Now, this is what Victoria's portfolio looks like. As you can see, if I were a recruiter and I'm looking at, Victoria's portfolio, I can see what she's done in the market. She has different, a bunch of projects here. So I can say, okay, you know what? I want to see deep care hospital ER visit analysis. So this is a data set that Victoria was able to translate into insights. So a recruiter would be looking at this and they can see proof that Victoria can actually deliver. Okay, that is exactly what they are seeing. Now, some people would be applying for jobs and they don't have a portfolio. You are making a strategic error because, like I said, job hunting today is like a pyramid. Everybody starts out at the bottom. Everybody, they are all skilled. Everybody's skilled. Everybody has fantastic skills. They've got certificates. Now, to get to one step on that ladder, you need to have what we call employability skills. And part of that is your portfolio. Candidates who don't have a portfolio are quickly filtered out. It's very difficult for you to get a job or for you to get an interview because recruiters don't want to spend their time, waste their time in interviews, asking you, tell me about yourself, and only to discover that you cannot even do the job when you get to the assessment stage. You don't have that time to waste. So they want to see that you can actually do the job. So before you get in, your portfolio is your proof. And that is where you would now see that Victoria, when a recruiter is looking at her profile, they can see proof that Victoria can build something like this. Now, the only question is, can Victoria build something like this for my specific use case? Is Victoria a culture fit? Is Victoria a problem solver? Would Victoria build this without me asking Victoria to build it? Because by the time you make it to the interview, they already know that you are qualified. They just want to know whether or not you have what we call employability skills. And a lot of people miss that the portfolio is a significant part of what makes them employable and competitive in the market. Don't be one of those people. So people would ask, I've already gone through how you can build your experience. You are building your experience while you are learning in class. Now we have a system. You spend 6 months in Tenalytics, and then you now spend 2 months in Amdari. Amdari is a sister company. You spend 2 months in Amdari doing your internship. So our programs run for a total of 8 months. 2 months, you spend that learning. You are learning, you are building your skills. You are learning, you are building your portfolio. And then 2 months, you spend that in your internship with Amdari. Now, for some people who don't have experience, I want to answer a quick question. You might have been wondering, how did people like, say, Ikmat, whose story I shared earlier, how did people like Ikmat, who had a 2-year gap on her resume, how was Ikmat able to get a job with the NHS and also secure a sponsorship as well, full sponsorship from the NHS? She was able to do this because she positioned her time learning in analytics as an asset. So she didn't say, I was a student. She said, I was a consultant. And that's something that you get when you work with Tenalytics. So you gain access to Tenalytics, which is Canada-based, and then also Amdari as well, which is based in the UK. And you can say you consulted with Tenalytics and Amdari, or Amdari or Tenalytics, whichever one works for your specific use case. And the best part of this is that you can also get references as well. So you can come back and say, I need a reference, and you will get the reference that you need. So you spend 6 months in Tenalytics and 2 months doing your internship with Amdari. So if you come back and you say, I need a reference for it. This is a reference that we filled out for one of our participants. So we fill out a bunch of references. It's part of what we offer to the participants, to the people in our community, because like I said, the goal is for you to get a job, and that includes a full suite of employability offerings. So we ensure that there was a time when we had what we call career activation summit, and a lady came in toying. She was talking about how she got a competitive job in Canada, and she said at the end of the day it came down to her and about 3 other highly qualified candidates as well, and she eventually got the job. But then they were telling her, her hiring manager was saying, do you know why you got the job? He said it came down to highly qualified people, but they went for her because the reference that they had gotten from us was so incredible. He said that they received a reference from Tenalytics that was so incredible. It completely blew the competition out of water. So in a nutshell, we sang her praises to heaven and back again. And that's exactly the kind of leverage that you are looking for. Like I said, it's like a pyramid. Every leverage that you have takes you one step closer to reaching the peak. Now, quick story, just a quick one before we move on. This is Sharon. Sharon joined our program in March 2025. She tailored her resume and she attended all the mentorship sessions. She built her portfolio. She applied to jobs. And in May 2025, less than 3 months after joining, she got a job as a business data analyst. And guess what? She also kept her sponsorship. So no matter what situation, what specific situation led you here, I want you to know that it is 100% possible for you. So now the question that I want you to start asking yourself is, which of these tracks is a fit for me? We've got business analysts. If you come in as a business analyst, we're going to be teaching you Power BI. We're going to be teaching you how to use Confluence, how to use Trello, how to use tools like Jira software, how to use Confluence. You're going to be learning Excel, Agile project and Scrum for Agile and Scrum for projects. You're going to be learning the software development life cycle, everything that you need in order for you to become a competitive business analyst is covered in this package. And then we've also got a sister track as well. This is for the people who are in health tech. So for my health tech ladies, you already have fantastic experience that positions you to win in this market. You can just move, instead of becoming a business analyst, you can just go for health tech business analyst. So you're working in the healthcare space as a business analyst. That's simply what it means. And it's fantastic because you already have domain experience. And that's one thing that employers will look at when they're looking for the right person for the job. They'll say, This lady already has domain experience, which positions you higher than other business analysts who are competing for jobs in that space and don't have healthcare experience. So if you've been in care work, maybe you're a pharmacist, you would be fantastic for the health tech track. Now, you're still going to be learning the same things as we do in business analysis, but the core difference here is that your projects are designed for the health tech space. That means that the kind of jobs you're going to be applying to are jobs that are in the healthcare space. That is the major difference. Now, let's talk about the next one. That's Agile Projects Management. Under Agile Projects Management, you're going to be learning things like Confluence, like Jira, like Trello, like ChatGPT, Draw.io. We're going to be covering the basics of projects management. We're going to be covering Kanban boards. We're going to be covering the Scrum artifacts, pretty much everything that you need to become competitive as an Agile projects manager and Scrum master. And the same thing also goes for its sister track, which is the Health Tech Project Management. The same principles apply, of course. So if you already have domain experience, you would be a beast in this. It's much easier for you to break into the industry with when you already have domain experience. Now we've got data analysts. As a data analyst, we're going to be teaching you how to use Power BI, how to use Tableau, how to use ChatGPT, how to use storytelling, SQL, and the same thing also goes for its sister track, which is the healthcare data analyst. Okay. Now, we also have the other track, which is financial analyst. And for financial analyst, you're going to be learning financial modeling and valuation. So if you already have a finance background, instead of looking for a man in finance, this would be, now we'll be talking about looking for a lady in finance. So problem solving, Excel, Power BI, accounting fundamentals. You're going to be learning the basics of all of this. And then the same thing also applies to product design. You're going to be learning the basics, and you're also going to be learning mapping, persona mapping. You're going to be learning how to create customer journey maps. You're going to learn how to build visual ideation using tools like Midjourney, like Ideogram. You're going to learn how to use tools like Notion, like Figma, like Claude, like Framer. So again, all of these are what make you highly competitive in the market. And of course, we've also got GRC. Now for the learning, for the schedule, it's going to be Saturdays live classes. Saturdays live classes. Now, live classes happen in the morning between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's UK time. And in the evening between 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's UK time, or 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. MST. So depending on whatever time zone you're at, if it's EU, if it's NA, you want to select the one that works best for you. Morning or evening. Oh, I work morning shifts, and you're going for the evening classes. I work evening shifts, you're going for the morning classes. Now, in between all of that, we also have self-paced. Self-paced happens Sundays and throughout the week. You have your Watch Me Do It videos. And this is very important because remember what I said, you are learning and you are doing. So someone was talking recently, we're in a podcast, and he said that one of the ways that he learned and he picked up things so quickly was because while he was watching his videos, he also had another screen where he was replicating what he was watching. So it took him, it was faster for him to get the basics of it. It was faster for him to learn because he was learning and he was also doing. So you have access to all of this. We also have drop-in sessions, so which means there are also classes as well that happen on Wednesdays, but that's, if you want to join in, you can join in. If you want to wait for your Saturday classes, that is fine. Then we also have the 2-month internship. So all of these activities I just mentioned happens for 6 months. And then 2 months internship with Amdari. So once you're done learning, you can now move to Amdari for your internship. And all of that is covered in the program. So it's not a separate thing. Now, just to summarize everything I've just said in a nutshell, what is the strategy? What is the winning strategy in this market? It's called LPA. Okay, the first one is learn, focus. What do you want to learn? You want to learn health tech, you want to learn GRC, you want to learn projects management, whatever it is you want to learn, choose one and stay there. Then the next step is packaging. Packaging is how you show up in the market. Packaging is pretty much, I mean, as women, you understand that when you're going out, the way you look, the way you smell, the way you walk, all of that is a part of your packaging. So I don't even think I have to sell packaging. So packaging is how you present yourself in the market, your LinkedIn, your portfolio, the way you interview. When they ask you questions like, tell me about yourself, how do you answer questions like that? That is a part of your packaging. A lot of times recruiters would look at the way people are answering these questions, and they're already cataloging whether or not you're confident. They are cataloging whether or not you're the kind of candidate who would push back on ideas and defend what you believe in. So this now creates a persona, and they're building this persona based off the kind of talent that they want to hire, which is one of the reasons why we do interview preps. What this means is that if you have 100 interviews, you are going to get 100 interview preps with our team. So it could be me, and we would sit down, we would look at, oh, you're interviewing in Amazon, for example. All right, so what is the best way for you to interview in Amazon? We're going to run a simulation. We're going to look at the role that you're interviewing for, the questions that you could possibly get. We're going to practice together. And by the time we do this over and over again, you're going to walk into that interview feeling prepared and confident, as opposed to walking in and you've got anxiety just racking and destroying your nerves. We've also got job reference. I think I've covered that. And this one is my favorite, on the job support. Once you join the community, you are part of the community for life. This means that you can always reach out to say, Tenalytics, I need support, I need help. And when you do, we will answer. Oh, you've gotten a job in Amazon. Fantastic. Congratulations. You've gotten a job in IBM. Congratulations. We're happy for you. But then you have to use a tool, and you don't know how to use that tool. And you told them during your interview that you know how to use the tool, because of course you have to position yourself for the best opportunities. Now you have to come back to Tenalytics and say, hey, I don't know how to use this. And I told them I know how to. Don't worry about that. We've got you covered. So once you're in the community, you are in the community for life. This also includes CV revamping as well, and LinkedIn optimization, as well, of course, as experience. So when you pair this packaging with precision when you are applying, so people will think that if they send out 50 applications a day, that increases their chances of getting a job. But it is so important that you are applying strategically and with precision. Ensure that you are tailoring your resumes. Ensure that you are changing. When I say tailoring your resume, so people will just see a job, they just click apply, 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 apply. There's literally what we call ATS, that's applicant tracking systems. And what applicant tracking systems do is that they will pretty much kick it out of the pool if your resume does not have keywords that are relevant to that job. So it means that you cannot just click apply, apply, apply. Applying for a job is a job on its own. And when you apply it, you approach it from that step, from that perspective, you're going to be successful. But if you're just applying a generic framework to it, you will not win in the market. So it is so crucial that when you're applying for a job, you are tailoring your resume. Now, another thing is, when I ask you, what job boards are there in the market? The first thing your mind will probably go to is Indeed. The second thing will probably be LinkedIn. But when you look at this, especially LinkedIn, you would see notifications like over 100 people already applied. And maybe they posted the job 2 hours ago. I can guarantee you can take that 100 and times it by 7. You're probably dealing with 700 people. Out of a pool of 700 people, what are the odds? What are the odds that at least 10% of them would not be as qualified as you are? So that means that volume equals more competition, which is where assets like paid hidden job markets come into play. A lot of people would not see the value of paying $5 here, $10 here, $20 here to access paid job boards. But a lot of companies would share their jobs only with this job board. So you wouldn't find it on Indeed. You wouldn't find it on on LinkedIn, but you would find it in maybe like Flex Jobs, for example. So this is one of the reasons why it's so important for the people in our community to keep on applying, because you don't have this problem. Once you're a part of our community, we are scraping these job boards because we partner with hidden job boards and paid job boards, and we get you fresh jobs that you can apply to every single week. So you're just minding your business and you've got fresh jobs delivered to your box, and all you have to do is just apply if the jobs are a fit. Okay, and then you're also leveraging the other channels as well. Now, once you pair the learn, the package, the apply together, this formula is what gives you your results, which is a job, because everything that we are doing here is to get a job. Okay, now real quick, I want to share Bukola's story with you. So Bukola joined our business analysis program and she secured 2 offers. How did Bukola do it? This is the LPA in action. First, Bukola joins the program and she chose one skill and she stuck with it. Bukola said, I'm going to go for business analysis. And she did this in July 2024. Now, here comes the package aspect. Bukola tailored her resume to a business analyst. We provided the templates for her. Bukola joined all our mentorship sessions. So in mentorship sessions, this happens every Thursday when you join our community, and you have access to listen to industry experts. You have access to learn the best ways for you to apply to jobs, the best way for you to answer interview questions like tell me about yourself and others. Bukola also got prepped for multiple interviews, which led to her first job in the first month of joining. I want to emphasize that Bukola got prepped for multiple interviews, which led to her first job in the first month of joining. Now, most of the stories I've shared, you've seen that, maybe they get results after 3 months. For example, like Judith got a result after 3 months. There's another lady, there's Hope as well. Hope got a result after 3 months. You would see that the timeline is different for everybody because everybody does not apply the strategy equally. For Bukola, Bukola was not resting. She was fired up and she got her first job in the first month of joining because she came in, she built her portfolio immediately. She built her CV immediately. And she said, I don't want to wait. I want to start applying. Then, Bukola got another job offer as a HR business analyst with a company in the US in July 2025. And we prepared her for both jobs. Again, fill out the attendance form that my colleagues are dropping in the chat section so that you can watch the interview. Now, real quick, I think I mentioned Hope earlier. This is Hope's story. This Hope story is why I say that you cannot rely on a certificate alone. If you look at Hope, Hope already had project management and Scrum Master certification. She already knew all of these frameworks. She was familiar with it. It wasn't anything new to her. Hope was already playing in the tech space, but Hope moved to Canada and it became a problem for Hope to get a job. And Hope said, you know what, I've applied, it's not working. So Hope joined Agile Project Management Program in 2024, and she got a job in December 2024. From September to December, Hope got a job as a project analyst in Canada. Now, the only thing that Hope did, the only change that Hope made, it wasn't to the skills aspect because Hope already had the skills. What she changed was the employability aspect, which is the way she interviews, the job she applies to, the way she applies to these jobs, the portfolio that she uses, the resume that she uses. So it was the strategy that changed, which is why I say that the skill is only 25% of it. The other 75% of it is employability. This is Oluwadamilare. He also had no experience in tech, and he got a job as a sustainability data analyst in the UK. This is Oyefi Kayo. Oyefikayo had finance and accounting background, and she got a job as a business solutions analyst. So everything I just keep on saying is, at the end of the day, Tenalytics is not about you coming in to learn a new skill. It's about you it's building employability skills, the skills that get you results in the market. Now, a major part of what we sell in Tenalytics, of what we do, of what we are about, what we preach, is community. It's especially for busy mothers. Community is so important, because with community, you have access to learn from other people who have walked your shoes before, other people who have similar stories like you, other people who are developing themselves and stepping into tech. You have access to mentorship. So you're not thinking that, oh, I'm alone. In many cases, you'll be able to come in and be mentored by women who have gone through our program before. And you can hear, you can ask them questions like, what was it like for you when you were in the UK? And there were a lot of uncertainties regarding your visa. How did you handle that? And that's one of the reasons why I tell people that, community is a major part of what we do, because all of these people who have gone through, they've been sitting exactly where you are with the same questions, with the same doubts, and they've been able to get the results that they are looking for in the market. All of these people are basically information gold mines that people like you can learn from. So when you're carrying your family, work, you're carrying the weight of everything at once, having access to the right community is literally a super asset. It is a super asset. Now, I want you to think about this. It is very critical that you make a bold change in 2026. At this point, I'm speaking directly to the woman who knows that she needs a change, but she just keeps on postponing it. You may have said to yourself, I will start when the kids are older. I will start when work is calmer. I will start when I have more money. I was having a session one time, a one-on-one with a lady, and she had just joined our program. She spent about a month and in the program, and she just sounded very exhausted, and she was telling me, Lola, I'm tired. I don't know if I want to continue. I'm just exhausted. So much going on. I have my kid, and now my shift was just changed, and it's just really difficult for me right now. And I asked her. I said, why did you join the program in the first place? Why did you decide that you want to do this? Because you don't want to start and then stop in the middle. There was something that you wanted. And she said, she knows that, business analysis is something that she would be fantastic at, because she already does that, even though she doesn't officially have that title where she works. And I said, well, that is the vision that you need to keep in your mind, and you need to keep on chasing. And she completed the program and she got a job. But if she had decided in that moment, I'm tired, I want to drop out. And there are people who come in and maybe they do it for like a couple of weeks. Say, man, I'm tired already. This is just not working for me. Yeah. But then they come back later and they have to start when the people who got started when they got started before and have already finished are already getting settled in their jobs, and they are pretty much starting from scratch again. My point is, you need to decide what you want for yourself. Life is always going to life. Things are always going to be busy. The kids are always going to be the kids. Everything is always going to try and keep you back from chasing your goals. And that's why I would say you need to make a bold change in 2026. This is not a reckless change. This doesn't mean quit your job today, quit your job tomorrow, or ignore your responsibilities. A bold change simply means deciding that this year will not be another year of you wishing, watching, and waiting. It means that you're saying, I'm going to choose a path this year. I'm going to commit to structured learning. I'm going to build proof that I can do this job. It means that you're taking your future seriously enough that you stop drifting and you start doing the actual work. And that's why I want to ask a question to all of the ladies who are on the call with me today. Are you comfortable where you are right now? Now, you probably are. You can type a yes in the chat. But if you're not, type a no in the chat. Are you comfortable where you are right now? Yes or no? You can type a yes or a no in the chat. Chinyere said, no, she's not comfortable. Is there anybody else who is not comfortable with where they are right now? You can type a yes or a no in the chat. I'm going to ask the question again. Are you comfortable? Okay. OKK said no. Is there anybody else who is not comfortable? Is there anyone else who is not comfortable? Yes or no? I need one more no or yes, depending. Ree said no. Fumilayo said no. Fantastic. I love the fact that we're looking at where we're at right now and we're saying, you know what, I'm not comfortable. So my question again to you is, what are you going to do with that discomfort? Where are you going to put it? All of this discomfort, what are you going to do? And this is where I invite you officially to the next step. Now, our next cohort starts on the 8th of August. And I want you to think about what that means. If you start now, you're not waiting for another year to pass. You are not saying maybe one day. What you're doing is you're putting structure around your goal. Those people who will see results later this year and into 2027 are the people who begin building today. So if you are ready to start building today, you're looking at this date, August 8th, and you're saying to yourself, this is the time for me to get started. Okay, so I've walked you through all of these career paths. I've walked you through business analysis, data analysis. At this point, I want you to start asking, what do I even want to start on the 8th of August? Now, if you've already made your decision, let me show you the next step. Now, these are all of the programs that we offer, from health tech to GRC to business analysis. Everything is 1,250. But wait. Remember, I said that for those who stay behind or who stay till the end of the session, I've got a special offer. Now, the program is going for a discount. Now, instead of 1,250, you're going to be getting it at $1,000. So it means that $250 is off the full amount, but that's not all. So hold on. Now you get to save 20% and pocket the $250 and get all of these benefits I just walked you through. And the best part of it is that for all of our doubting Thomases, you can start with $200. Now, what this means is that you break your payments into tranches. I want to see whether or not this would work for me. I want to see whether or not my story can turn out like ICMAT, whether or not this program can offer me the value that I'm looking for. You're hesitant, you're cautious, you're the kind of person who thinks very well before taking a decision. That is fine. You can get started and start paying in tranches. But this discount I'm showing you today is only available for the first 10 people who decide to get started. Now, my colleagues are going to be sharing a link in the chat section. I want you to click on that link. That's called the payments link. You can click on the payments link. My colleagues are going to be dropping the link very soon, and you can just walk through this process with me. So when you click on the link, it's going to take you to a page that looks like this. This is our website, and I'm just going to quickly show you how you can deal your payment. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come here. You're going to see all of these options and more that I've just walked you through. So at this point, you're wondering, what do I want to do? We said I'm willing to join, but I can start in this September. Absolutely. So we have two cohorts open. We have the August cohort, and we also have the September cohort as well. The August cohort is the closest cohort, but you can also select September as your cohort and make your payment. I would say the most important thing is that you lock down your discount. So let me select business analysts. So if you want to go for the business analyst track, I want you to go to the business analyst section, and you're going to, I'm just going to show us what this looks like. Minutes. All right, so you're going to scroll down here. So this is what it looks like, and I want you to click on this button, enroll now. Okay, you're going to click on enroll now. Just give me a minute. Let me get the password. So payment is designed to be very fast and very seamless. Don't worry about this password thing. You don't have to deal with that. This is a demo website that I'm dealing. So when you go to the website, you just go to tenanalytics.io. My colleagues are going to be sharing a payments link in a few minutes in the chat section. You can just go there, and it's very easy and seamless. Okay, so just give me a minute to verify my browser. Okay, so now you're going to come here. This is what it looks like, and then you're going to put in your name. You're going to put in your name, and let me just say Lola. And then you're also going to put in your email address. You're going to put in your phone number here. Tick that you have read the terms and conditions, and put in your email. Now, we typically recommend Gmail. So if you have a Gmail, this is the best time to use your Gmail. I would recommend that you avoid using Yahoo or any other. 1 minute. All right, so I'm just going to click on sign up here. Okay, Lola Femi. I'm going to click on sign up, and that's it. We're signing up. Easy peasy. Okay, now once you've signed up, you come to a page where you can confirm your enrollment. So your enrollments can either be August or September. August or September. So I'm going to come here. Remember what, Ree, you were asking this question. So you can just come here and you can select the September cohort. So you don't have to go with the August cohort. I spoke about August because it's the one that's getting started August 8th, but you can get started with the next cohort September 5th. Now, we have different payment plans. Remember I mentioned you get 20% off if you decide to pay in 5 installments. So which means that instead of getting it at $1,250, you're getting it at $1,000. Now with 5 installments, you break your payment down to 200, 200, 200. Okay? Now, on this level, you can pay in 5 installments and you gain access to a 20% discount. Now, there's also another payments plan for 2 installments, and you get, you also gain access to the 20% discount here as well. So on this level, you pay $500. Everything is still the same. You're still getting access to the same kind of benefits, your CV optimization, you're getting access to all of these benefits. So nothing is changing depending on whichever one you go for. So you can just go for the payment option that you're more comfortable with, or you can decide to pay at once. Now, if you decide to pay at once, you gain access to another discount. So this time you're getting 32% off. So instead of paying $1,000, if you're paying at once, you would be paying $950. So this is the best value because you save 32% off instead of the 20%, but whichever one you're more comfortable with. Lola, I'm not really sure this is for me. I want to test it and see whether or not I would like it. Go for 5 installments or go for 2 installments. You're 100% certain your mind is made up. You know, you want to get into this, you want to get started, you want to be the next Judith, you want to be the next Ikmat, the next Hope. Go for pay once. Now, once you click on that, the next thing is for you to confirm that your information is correct. Now, depending on if you choose either of these installment options, I want you to notice something here. So if you choose either of these installment payments, you're going to see change dates. Okay, when you scroll down, you're going to see change dates. Change my next payment date. So what this means is for people who maybe if you pay today, it means that your next debit will be on the 18th of August. If you don't want your next debit to come in on the 18th of August, you can say, okay, depending on when you get your next payment, you can say, I want it to be on the 18th of September, for example. I want it to be on the 15th. I want it to be on the 1st of September. So you can always come here to select when you want your next debit to happen. And that's how your 5 months payment would follow. It would automatically follow your selection. And then you can select pay now. So once you select pay now, very easy. It takes you to the page where you make your payments. Okay. So here you put in your card details, you select your country. Here I'm just going to put in 4242 because it's a test data. And then I'm just going to put in my month, my year, and then my CVC, and then I'm going to put in my card name, Lola, and that's pretty much it. And I select pay. So it's a very quick and easy process. Once you get to this page, you've pretty much completed your payments. Now, the only thing you need to do here before you get into your LMS are two things. Number one, you need to verify your email. Once you verify your email, then you need to complete just a short form to confirm your details, because we want to ensure that we collect everything required to successfully onboard you. Now, at this point, you want to go to your email. If you go to your email, you're going to see a verification email that has been sent to you. I want you to copy the code and then paste that code here. And that's it. You verify and you are good to go. Okay? Now you're going to gain access to a form that you fill. You can fill out this form in a few minutes. It's a very short form. So I selected September as my cohort, and that's why you can see that here. So if August is too soon for you, feel free to select September. Okay, so now I'm going to put in information. I'm going to select my country. I'm going to select my gender. I'm also going to impute my phone number as well. So I'm going to input my phone number. Okay, 1 minute. So let's say 79. My goodness, 7496 518013. So you pick the phone number there. And then select your preferred class. Remember, we spoke about the preferred class. So if you want it to be in the morning, if you want it to be in the evening, depending on what your schedule on Saturday looks like, select this. Then you can also select your time zone as well. What time zone are you in? Are you in what? Are you in BST, in CST, whatever that looks like? Now, we like to collect emergency contact details, just, to be safe. In case we probably need to contact, or hopefully we do not, but this is just to ensure that we've covered all the most important things for you. And then you can also impute your LinkedIn profile as well. And that's pretty much it. You are ready to go. So on this level, you can verify your phone number. Once you verify your phone number, you're going to get an OTP. You fill out your OTP and you can complete your registration and gain access to your LMS. It's a very quick and easy setup. Now, once you gain access to your LMS, all you have to do, you have some videos that you can watch while you are waiting. If you selected August, you're waiting until August 8th for your cohorts to start and for you to be onboarded. But it doesn't end there. Our team is going to call you just to ensure that you have everything that you need. An account manager is immediately assigned to you. So you would receive a call from your account manager who would confirm the tools that you need and the tool that you have access to, just to ensure that you are ready for your start date, either in August or in September. And they will answer any questions that you need while you are waiting to be onboarded on the day your cohort starts. On the day your cohort starts, you're going to meet your classmates. Prior to that, you would have already been placed in a community that we call pods. Pods are made up of 5-6 people coming together. So 5-6 learners. Now imagine you learning with 5-6 moms, all of you together in a pod, and maybe you're all in the UK, so you can all decide, hey, you know what, it's time for us to, we've been learning so much in the past 3-4 months, let's take ourselves out and just do a pod hangout. And that's one of the benefits of community. On a day where you feel like you can't do this, you can't continue, things are difficult. You have another mom who just went out and she got an interview. And when you hear her story, you're gingered because you say, you know what, I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it too. And that is the power of community. So our programs are designed to not keep you learning in isolation, but to have you building relationships that are an important part of your journey while you are learning, and even after you complete your learning with 10 analytics. Now, I'm wrapping up, so if anyone has any questions, this would be a great time for me to take your questions. So you can either drop your questions in the chat. I answered a few questions that I saw, or you can raise your hand as well if you have any questions. Now, remember that this slot is not for everybody. Okay, remember it's not for everybody. Once we get 10 payments, that's it. It's gone. It's not coming back. It is gone. Once we get 10 people to register. If you have any problems registering, you can see these numbers on my screen. You can text these numbers on WhatsApp and say, hey, I'm having a problem, I can't register. So feel free to do that. Or you can just click the link that my colleagues are dropping in the chat section and claim your spot before it is gone. Okay? Now, quick one. I want to address concerns because these are things that we hear a lot from the people in the community. First of all, I don't have the time for this. I'm very busy. I'm a mom, you know. Our programs are designed for working professionals and for people with realistic family expectations. We understand that every day is not Sunday. You have things that you have to do, you have money that you have to earn, and because of that, we designed this deliberately to ensure that if you are not available, so say you miss a live class, maybe you had to take a kid to the doctor all of a sudden. In that case, the live class is recorded. And this is part of why you also have a community as well. So you can also reach out to your community. You also have access to your facilitators at 10 Analytics. So there's a bunch of people who are willing to support you. So your live classes are recorded, and then your Watch Me Do It videos. It's just about managing your time and setting aside dedicated time to study. Now, I'm not sure I'm ready. Honestly, I don't think that anything great has ever been done from a place of comfort. If you're waiting to be ready, you will never be ready. That is why you start before you get ready. Every time I've ever done something that I was scared of or something that I thought that I probably wouldn't be able to do, I started before I felt ready. And that killed all of the time that I would have spent in my head overthinking things. So even though you don't feel like you're ready, the fact that you are here on this call, it means that there's a higher calling. You know that there is something more out there, and you know that you have what it takes for you to get there. You just did not have a roadmap before, and that's exactly what I have shared with you. Question is, what are you going to do about it? Now, what if it doesn't work for me? I hear this a lot, but remember the stories that I shared. Everybody with their own timeline, with their own timetable. Some people will get jobs in 3 months. Some people will get jobs in 1 month into their program. Some would get jobs 6 months after their program. Some would get jobs 2 months after their program. You know what the difference is? Consistency and the way you apply. Consistency. Every consistency will beat every other strategy any day, anytime. As a matter of fact, you know the saying where they say stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. Sometimes you do the same thing over and over again, and you just get the result that you want because you just keep doing it over and over and over again. You know, doesn't happen all the time, but the point is that consistency will beat any other strategy. So when you merge consistency with a solid strategy, you are going to get results. Now, it might vary for you. You might be getting it much faster than other people. And this is why community is so important. When you hear that, you know, Bukola got a job and Bukola and Chinyere are both in the same pod, Bukola and Chinyere will say, But I was there when Bukola was learning now. Me and Bukola, we were both learning together. We're both at the same level. And if she was able to get a job, then I can do it too. When Ree gets a job and Sheila is like, I haven't gotten a job yet. Sheila's thinking to herself, hey, you know what? Ree was able to do it. I can do it too. That is the power of community. So consistency, keep on doing it over and over again. Try out different strategies and it will work for you. $1,000 is a lot of money. Okay, that's easy. That's easy for some people to say $1,000 is a lot of money. But when you sit down and you start to calculate those random purchases on Uber Eats, random purchases here and there, maybe you buy pizza, one or two, before you know it, you're already ramping up to $1,000. And these are things that would not directly impact your future in any way. It is a large spend when you're looking at it from the perspective of, I'm going to be taking this out at once. So for the people who are paying once, they have strong conviction in terms of results. This is what I'm going to get out of it. But if you do not have that conviction yet, you want to be very careful, or maybe depending on how you're earning or what is available right now, you want to break it down into tranches. That is absolutely fine. In that case, in 1 month, the foundational value that you're building up, it's already starting to pick up ROI because you start to see things differently. In month 2, you're already seeing things or thinking like a business analyst. You're already thinking like a cybersecurity, like a GRC specialist. You're already thinking like an operations analyst. So you're starting to see the ROI in real time. And that's why I would say $1,000 is not a lot of money, especially for the value that you are getting. And the biggest value, the best thing out of this, it's not the skill. It's not the skill. The employability is fantastic too. It is the community that you gain access to. That is your biggest value. Now, Tenalytics is accredited by the American Council of Training and Development. We're also accredited in the UK as well. In case you might have questions on, are you accredited or not? We are 100% accredited. And we also got into the Alberta Catalyzer Velocity Program in October 2024. So fill out the attendance form. You can gain access to this. You can just click and read the article for more information. But yes, I've come to the end of my session and I'm going to wrap it up before I take questions. If anyone has any questions in the house, I'm going to close with this. Your journey to a flexible, higher value tech career, it starts with a decision. Not a perfect decision, not a fearless decision, not a I am ready now and I know for sure decision. It's, you know what, I might have some, I'm not sure if I'm ready. I'm not sure this is the right move for me at this time, but I do know that I'm not comfortable staying where I'm at right now. The strategies I'm trying is not working for me. I absolutely can do more. That place, your decision comes from there. You don't have to become less of a mother for the moms in the house to build a strong career. You do not have to erase your past to get into tech. You just need to understand how to position the skills that you already have and make them into an asset so that when recruiters are looking at you, they're not seeing a victim or someone who has a gap in her resume, someone who has a gap in her experience, or someone who cannot do the job or is not confident enough. They are seeing your transferable skills repositioned and repackaged as strength. So if you are ready to get into tech and to get access to flexible opportunities, your journey in a nutshell starts here. Do we have any questions? Do we have, okay. Chinyere is asking a question. Which companies have hired your health tech graduates in the UK? And how do you support international professionals or people moving from healthcare into tech? That's a fantastic question. So one of the companies would be a company that that is the NHS. So our health tech graduates are very popular with the NHS. And I think I shared some testimonials of people who have gotten jobs with the NHS. So we've also had some people who've gotten jobs in different tech companies, but we do get a lot of jobs in the NHS, and not because we have any special partnership with the NHS, but because the framework, it works, and a lot of people typically target the NHS industry. There's one of our stories that I shared, and she got a job with the NHS. I just want to show you her testimonial again in case you missed it. Yes, so that is Ikmat. So this is Ikmat's story. And Ikmat's got a job with the NHS, and she also got full visa sponsorship. Okay, so Ikmat came in and she graduated with data analytics. So you would typically find our participants are getting jobs with the NHS or with other tech companies that hire for these sort of roles. How do you support international professionals or people moving into healthcare, moving from healthcare into tech? So we created a health tech school. We basically created an entire school dedicated to health tech. And that's because we understand that a lot of people would come in, a lot of our people who came in would, either have, maybe I was doing something else in Kenya or in Nigeria or in Ghana or in India, and I moved into the US and I started working in care. Or maybe I was a pharmacist, I was a doctor, I was a nurse, and then I came in, I was working in the healthcare space. So we would see that a lot of people would have healthcare backgrounds. But then, there are opportunities where we're going into things like, things that were not related to healthcare, because they kept on thinking that they have to change their entire background in order for them to get jobs, which is one of the reasons why when we looked at the market this year and we saw how opportunities in health tech were exploding, we said, you know what, we have to create an entire school dedicated to this, because our graduates were already getting jobs in health tech way before that. But we just said we're going to target this specifically and build skills for this. So we support you, first of all, by helping you build portfolios. So when you come into health tech, you have different tracks. You have data analysis, you have project management, you have business analysis. All of these are under the health tech umbrella. And that means that the portfolio that you are building is designed for health tech. You cannot use a portfolio for an e-commerce store, for example, to get a job in health tech. It has to be tailored, because one thing that's very important in health tech is context and domain knowledge. So our programs are designed to leverage your existing domain knowledge and help you build portfolios so you can break into the health tech space. That's one of the biggest ways that we support people who are moving into that career path. And of course, we also pair that with employability as well. We have special sessions on health tech. We have our participants, people like ICMAS, people like Mao team, they come in and they speak to the community. These are people who work in the health tech space. They pass through our walls, they pass through our programs before they got their jobs, and they come in and they share their knowledge, which is one of the reasons why we always tell people to attend mentorship sessions. So we provide a lot of support to the people in our community, to international professionals, or when you're moving into tech from healthcare. We literally have a school dedicated to that. And I hope I've answered your question, Chinyere. Ree is asking, can I register in September instead of now? Absolutely, Ree. So just go through the same process that I went through. So when you're selecting your cohorts, just select the September cohort. This account that I created this account in the September cohort. It's not an August cohort account. It's a September cohort account. Let me show you the header. So if you look at this here, you can see that my cohort start date is September 5th, 2026. So you can either get started on the 8th of August, or you can get started on the 5th of September. It's entirely up to you. Okay? It's entirely up to you. So do we have any other questions in the house? Any other questions in the house? Anyone with any questions? You can drop your questions in the chat section, or you can raise a hand if you want to talk, and I will unmute you so you can ask a question. Any questions? Okay, I don't think we have any questions. I don't think we do. All right. So in that case, thank you so much, everyone, for spending the last 2 hours with myself and my colleagues. On behalf of all of us, we're incredibly grateful that you took out this time out of your incredibly busy lives and you spent it with us. Now, I know that if you're here, if you stays this long, like I said, there is certainly something that you're looking for. And I hope that you found value in today's session. Even though you might decide, I don't want to continue my journey with Tenalytics, but I hope that you got immense value from today's session. But if you do decide that you want to continue your journey with Tenalytics, we'll be so excited to have you in the community, and we look forward to onboarding you to class. Like I always say to the people who are part of our community, you will never walk alone again. You will always have information, you will always have access, and you will always have a community that will cheer you on and will support you, even on days when you don't feel like showing up. So thank you so much again, everyone, for joining us. And I do hope that we see every single one of you in class. Please enjoy the rest of your day or your evening, and bye.